Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to my channel. I am the Educated Natural. I am super excited to have you with me today. Listen, if this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Take a look around. Grab a pen and your favorite writing tablet or notebook because I guarantee you something here is going to inspire you, and if it doesn't do anything else, it's going to make you think about how you're operating in your business. I welcome you all first time visitors. Now, for my OGs, those who have been rocking with your girl for a while, I thank you for being here. For I know you could have been anywhere else on the internet, but you chose to spend a few moments with me, and I'm honored. And I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. To my members that are popping up in the house, hello and welcome. G Mama Grows, Sonia Siegler, and the rest of my members as you are making your way here. Welcome in. Give it up for my members. That's what I'm talking about. You guys, the song is coming soon. Just hang tight. Listen, to everyone that's joining us today, let me take a quick glance over at the chat. I see, and I want to say hello to MN Custom Made Barb LaFon. Thank you for being here. Thank you once again, G Mama Grows, my member, for being here. Rooted in Essentials Oils, thank you for being here. Sonia Siegler, my other member, thank you for being here. It's great to see you. Listen, everyone's making their way over. I want to give everybody time because today is a huge, huge topic, especially if you are in business. Now, listen, right off the top, I know many of you are saying, but Kim, what is the purpose of us being here? What is the purpose of your channel? Well, let me tell you this. I can make this guarantee to you. While you are here on the Educated Natural channel, I can make this pledge and vow unto you. And that is, I will never leave you uneducated. I just can't do it. It is not in me because the whole goal of this channel is to educate you on whatever topic of discussion we are having. So today I'm going to need you to talk back to me because I know many of you are saying, Kim, I'm going to be doing various things in my business from this point forth. But the moment they heard me say contracts, their eyes got really big. It was a lot of shock in the room. And it was even shocking for me to learn that there are actual business professionals, CEOs, entrepreneurs, even hobbyists that do not have contracts in their business. I find that really strange. So today I said, let me pump the brakes. Let's go back to one of the business principles we teach our clients, and that's about business contracts for your business protection. It's not always about the other people. Sometimes, actually, a majority of times, you need to make sure you're protecting yourself as you're going about your business. Also, I see another familiar face that's popped into the room. Hello, official Jamie. Thank you for being here. So great to see you. Uh-oh, give it up for my other member who done slid in from the side, all the way from Alaska. Nobody else other than Mr. GT Jr. Grows in Alaska himself, y'all. Yes, he has made his way through. Thank you for sharing with us earlier today. GT, we're great to see you. It's great to see your chickens. Oh man, if you guys missed his video, if you have missed also G Mama Grows videos, you have to go over to their channels and show them some love. They are great individuals doing some great things over there in their businesses and in their yards with their animals and with their vegetables and fruits. Let me tell you, in this day and age, you better have a gardener on your channel or at least in your Rolodex because they are showing you how to grow your own food and raise it at the same time. So if you like to eat, you better follow a gardener. I'm trying to tell you, for real. So thank you all for being here. Listen, business contracts. I've had a lot of questions. I've had a lot of inquiries. And so today, let's just get into this conversation. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, Kim, I'm a hobbyist. I don't take this thing that I do serious. Well, here's the thing I'm going to ask you back. Are you making money from doing whatever it is you're doing? Are you making money? Are you selling something? Are you going places and doing things with other people? Are you interviewing people? Then you need to be listening to this conversation, because business contracts could save you, the entrepreneur, in the long haul. There are currently many business professionals and organizations and companies that are being sued, and the entire thing could have been avoided had there been a contract or an agreement on the table. But because there was no contract in a written form or agreement in a written form, it became a word of mouth, and now it's one side against the other side, and it's a whole legal battle. And if you know anything about a legal battle, there's always a lot of money at stake. So if you don't want to protect anything else, protect your money. And a contract can help you do that. But another great thing about contracts is that they lay it out in layman's terms, meaning so easy and clear that even a child can understand it, as to what the expectations are from both parties, from you and the people you're doing business with. You'll know what their expectations are of you, and you will know what that other entity's expectations are of you. And so it go of them. And so it kind of goes back and forth. If you're saying you're going to do a product, this type of product is going to look this particular way, it's going to feel like this, all of those things can be listed in a contract. That way, something goes wrong, something goes disarray, the other side cannot say, oh, I didn't know. Oh, you didn't say that. No, it's all written in the contract. So if you know you do not have one single contract in your business, you need to pay close attention and do your own due diligence and see, if possible, based on what you do on a day-to-day basis, if a contract is applicable to you. It will surprise you. Because even doing my own research, the number of contracts that are out there, from freelancers to hobbyists to crafters to public speakers to all sorts of people, music artists, there are so many contracts. And if you don't have at least one contract in your business, you're failing yourself. Hello, Sweet Reed. Thank you for being here. Hello, Tamika Davis. Welcome in. Great to see you. Precious Pieces, thank you for being here. Now, let's get into this. How many of you, and this is where I need y'all to talk back to me, okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you have a website. I'm not asking you what it is. Just put a 1 in the chat if you have a website. Now, it doesn't matter if you own it, if you're using it. Do you have a website? So I'm looking for ones, because I want to see who are my website holders in the building. All right. G Mama Grow says, I got a website. Let's see. GT Junior says, I have a website too. Anyone else have a website? Put a 1 in the chat. Because it surprises me as to how many people have gorgeous websites. I mean, all the bells and whistles you can think of. But they are missing some key components that fall into the business contract / agreement sector. Now, of those of you that were brave enough to raise your hand and said, yes, I have a website, here's the next question. On your website currently, do you have, all right, Barb says, I have one too. All right, that's good to see. On this website, hello, Miss Shirley O.G. Gardner. Great to see you. T-shirt man Los, what's happening, bro? Good to see you. On your website, now I'm asking everyone that's coming in now, put a 1 in the chat if you have a website. All right, that's all I want you to do right now is put a 1 in the chat if you have a website. On your website, there are many things you can have on there, but the top 3 things you better have on that website, and if you don't, you better go check it now. Number 1, these are no particular order. Number one, you need to make sure you have a privacy policy. Do you have a privacy policy on your website? Number two, you need to make sure you have terms and conditions on that website. Do you have terms and conditions on your website? And number three, you need to make sure you have a disclaimer on your website. These are three things that every website owner needs to have. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of these things because I have a lot of contracts we're going to talk about, and it's going to take way too long. Okay. But I'm bringing up these three things because you need to make sure they are on your website. There are legal ramifications associated with terms and conditions, privacy policy, and disclaimer on your website. So you need to make sure that you have those on there, but not only have it there. How often do you go through each of those and make sure they are up to date? Because if you are doing business overseas just did an update to the GDPR, I think that's what it's called, requirements for doing business overseas. So you need to make sure that your three things I just went over, your privacy policy, your terms and conditions, and your disclaimer, are all up to date. If your stuff still says 2020, you're out of date. If your stuff still says 2022, you're out of date. If at the bottom of your website, where it usually has who owns it, where it says all rights reserved, please tell me you have that at the bottom of your website. It should say the current year. If any of that stuff is out of date, you are out of pocket. All right, meaning you are doing business wrong on your website. The rules are continually changing, not just on search engines, but globally. Some of the requirements are, extensive. So you need to make sure that if you have a website, you have gone through it. I know they're long, trust me. Every year, I go through my terms and conditions for updates and changes because the rules change every single year. So if you haven't gone through your website and taken an in-depth look at those things, that is your homework assignment immediately. To go and make sure your website is covered in case something goes wrong with a customer or client. You don't want them to try to use what you did not do on your website against you. Any questions as far as privacy policy, terms and conditions, and disclaimer? Now, before you ask, I'm going to just go on and say it. Yes, I do provide services on business contracts and agreements. I am currently going through all of my contracts, all of my agreements to incorporate any changes that need to be made or updates. So when my clients come to me and they say, hey, I'm doing business with a company, I really need XYZ. Do you provide that, the Educated Natural? I can say yes, and I can hand this over to them for a fee. It's not free because a lot of work to build these things. And they pay the fee, they have the contract. That way they are covered when they're doing business with other people. All right. But I wanted to start this conversation off with websites. I know for a lot of business professionals, websites freak a lot of people out. I don't know why. It should be like your ace boom coon. It should be your main place where you send people to. But for some reason, there are a lot of business professionals that are operating in business. We put quotes around that, and they do not have a website. And so we're changing that this year. We are changing that. And the reason why we are changing that is because a lack of a website is causing a lot of confusion in the marketplace. You're actually leaving money on the table when you do not have a place, one centralized place for people to go learn more about you, learn more about your products and your services. If you're sending people to IG, Instagram, if you're sending people to Facebook and you're sending people over here and your name is different all over the place, it's causing a lot of confusion. And confused people do not buy. So don't leave money on the table because you are too afraid to build your own website. Do what you need to do to make sure that when people come looking for you, they know where to go. That's why I always tell people that always ask me, where can I find out more about you? I give them my website, and it's the same across the board. www.theeducatednatural.com. It's my name. It is I. I am her. She is I. We're together. Okay? Go to my website. You're going to find everything there, including a privacy policy, a terms and condition, and a disclaimer, among so many other things. You will find it there. But even if you miss something, maybe I'm in the middle, like right now, I'm in the middle of updating my website on a couple of things so I can put these business contract bundles out there for everyone and singles. I'm in the process of adding that to the website, but at least I'm telling you about it here, and we're going to have this discussion here, and you know I got you covered because I have them here. All right. So if you have a website, take some time today or sometime this week at least and go through those 3 things. So let me check the chat. I know some people have come in. Hey, Tay Weezy, welcome in. Let's see who else we have. If I missed anybody, just say hello so I can catch up with you. All right, let's see here. All right, moving on. So that's the website. That's something I had to really bring up was your website. So how many of you are coaches? Now, I don't care if you're a life coach, a business coach, a strategist, or whatever you want to call yourself. You fall into the coaching or even mentoring space. Put a 1 in the chat if that's you. I want to see if we have any coaches here, any mentors here. And that is your creme de la creme. That is something you do. That is the service you provide to customers. I don't care how big or small. I don't care if it's a one-on-one coaching program. You're showing people how to build a YouTube page. You're showing people how to build any type of social media. You're coaching people through life. You're coaching people through grief or whatever the case may be. You fall into the coaching space. Is there anyone here currently that falls into that particular area of expertise? Put a 1 in the chat if that's you. Okay, I don't see any ones yet. How many of y'all know some people in the platforms across the globe that fall into that category? Anybody know a business coach? Anybody know a life coach, a mentor, a financial advisor, someone along that line? If you do, or if you're thinking about it, maybe the spirit is leading you into coaching. If this is you, do you have contracts in your business? Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I don't need a contract because coaching really isn't regulated like that. Yes, it is. You'd be surprised how things have changed over the years. Now, I don't know about you all, but there was a time where you look to your left, there was a coach. You look to your right, there was a coach. You look up there was a coach. You look down there was a coach. It was coaches everywhere. Everybody and their mama was a coach. It was life coaches everywhere. People who had never thought about becoming a life coach, everybody was like, I'm a life coach. People was running over here getting certifications and running over there getting these certifications from people that claim to be life coaches or the coach of the coaches. It was crazy for a minute there. Everybody wanted to be a coach. So what was happening was there were a lot of people finding themselves saying they were coaches, working with other people, and it just went horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. I have heard some horror stories from people that were working with these supposed coaches. So if you are a coach in any form, you need to have contracts. There are certain contracts that coaches need to have. For instance, if you have a client base, you need to have a coaching client agreement. A coaching client agreement is where you lay out with that client what they can expect from you. These are the services you're going to provide. This is what they can expect. And you kind of lay that thing out so that there are no lines of confusion. That client knows exactly what you're going to provide to them as a coach. You know exactly what's going to be going on, and it's clear. So if you are a coach and you don't have some sort of coaching client agreement, that is your homework for today. You need to get that in place. Okay, G Mama says, let's see here. I did a session with a life coach. They did a lot of referrals, so I passed. Probably because they didn't think it was going to be as in-depth or complicated as they thought. They thought it would just get in and get some easy money and then get out. I've heard stories like that as well. So, G Mama, did you have some sort of agreement or contract with that particular coach? I'm pretty curious to know. Also, if you are a coach, there is another thing you need to pay attention to, or another contract, should I say. It's called a release of liability for coaching services. That pretty much is self-explanatory, but just in case you didn't catch it, as a coach, you need to make sure you are in a position to have a certain level of liability. This release form lets that client know that, hey, I'm not God, and I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but XYZ, ABC. You're going to lay it out to where if something goes wrong, if that client is dissatisfied, unhappy for whatever reason, that they can't come back later and try to sue you because of some sort of liability issue. So you need to make sure that not only do you have a coaching client agreement, but you can either have it in that document or you can have a separate document that gives you a limited liability in the outcome of your services to them. It covers you as a coach. All right. Telling you, the plainer you make a contract for both parties, the better it will be for both parties. Okay. Okay, so G Mama says it was a free session to see if I wanted to participate. Got you. Okay. All right. But honestly, even with a free session, that's another contract that coach could have had in place. Because some people think that, oh, if I go to a session with you, I'm automatically your client, or I'm automatically do for this or that, or I expect you to do this or that. And as the coach, you may be thinking, well, no, this was just a free session just for us to say, hey girl, hey, or hey man, hey, or whatever. And that needs to be clear. Everything needs to be laid out in writing. Like I said, it covers both parties when it's in writing. So these are just my suggestions, it's my opinions. You can do what you want as a coach, as a freelancer, as whatever you are. But business contracts have saved a lot of people I know. And I have heard horror stories from people that I know and I don't know, just kind of heard it in the grapevines. What has happened when contracts are not in play, they are not created or activated, or if they are created and activated, the person didn't read the contract until the litigation procedures proceeded. And they realized that they were in the wrong because they didn't read it. So have those contracts in place, and that will cover you as a coach, as a website owner, as a business professional. You have to have some sort of contract in place. Now, let me be clear. Not every contract is created equal. You can go to one business professional and get a contract for their services or products. You can go to another business professional and they could give you a total different contract. It could have things in there that you didn't see in the other one, or vice versa. You just need to make sure if you're doing business with another person and a contract is needed, that you read through every single line of it and get a complete understanding of it. Because the clearer your understanding is of this contract, the better for you, especially if money is at stake. Read, read, read. Don't just think because y'all have known each other since childhood that everything is going to be cool from that day forth. I know a lot of people that have fallen victim to broken relationships and broken business partnerships, and they were friends from childhood, from diaper age. They were friends, known each other all their lives, but when money came into play, things just went belly up. It just turned out really bad. But it was those contracts that saved them, those that had them, and hurt them, those that didn't. So if you're serious about business, if you're serious about what it is you do in the marketplace, cover your own back at all costs. Hey, Miss T with the T, welcome in. Yes, it is, Miss T. All contracts are certainly different. So you may be thinking, like I was thinking, how many different contracts are out there? Well, let me tell y'all something. I went down a rabbit hole. If that rabbit hole is deep, I did not know that there were so many contracts and agreements out there. I'm just going to rattle off a few. I haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg with the different types of contracts and agreements that are out there. I'm completely shocked. Like I just completely stopped reading because I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And it just depends on the business that you are working with. Hey, Blue Lotus, thank you for being here. So let's kind of run through some of these, and y'all tell me if y'all have had any experience with business contracts. Maybe you have had to give somebody a business contract. Maybe you had to receive a business contract. I would love for you all to come up if you want, and just let me know in the chat if you want to come up and give your experience and your take on it. I do invite you. But here's some other agreements and contracts you may or may not be familiar with. For instance, a service agreement. What about sale of goods agreement? You ever heard of that one? How about an agency agreement? These are all legit contracts and agreements I'm going to be just kind of rattling through here. How about a broker agreement? For y'all financial people out there, a broker agreement. A franchise agreement. You best believe the people that work at that special M place, that restaurant, you better believe they have some agreements and contracts in place. How about a consignment agreement? What about a returned check agreement? You ever heard of somebody that's bouncing them checks like balls? Or, they don't have enough money in that account, but they still wrote that check. And now you got to return some stuff. A return check agreement. You better have those in place. I know some of you do catering. If you are a caterer, trust me, you need to have a caterer's agreement. What about a letter of intent? What do you intend to do? What are your intentions with this product? Like, I intend for you to send me 16 thermoses or 25 tumblers. That needs to be in an agreement. That way, if I'm one short, we need to talk about this. In the agreement you signed off on, it says you promised me XYZ tumblers, XYZ t-shirts. I'm short. Where's the rest of my order? So if you have these agreements in place, that other person, the other party that owes you something, they need to give you the rest of your order because you're on an agreement. So what about a marketing agreement? I know a lot of business professionals that outsource their marketing from their social media marketing. They have these social media managers they outsource their things to, instead of basically those you don't understand outsourcing. That means you're not doing it. You hired somebody else to do it. There needs to be an agreement in place so that you all can have an understanding. How many posts are they going to be making on your social media every single day? Is it going to be a video? Is it going to be just a reel? Is it going to be a short? All of these things need to be written out in your agreement with your management team. Everybody needs to know what's going on. So that way, if somebody falls short, you can bring out the agreement and says, look right here. It says blah, blah, blah right here. Get yourself together. Okay? We on the agreement. DJ Ron the Mechanic, welcome in. Welcome in, Unbiased. Thank you for being here. So how about a event agreement and waiver? Have you ever heard about that type of agreement or contract? Let's say you sign up to go to an event. It rains. It's an outside event. You paid money to be there. What does it say in your waiver or your agreement with this company? Does it say in case of rain, we give you a full refund? Or does it say we're going to give you a 50%? What does this say? If you're at an event, you don't have a contract, baby, you may be out on the curb because without no agreement, it's your word against theirs. This is why I had to come today and talk to you guys about business contracts, because it's like things we just do not think about. We're thinking about making sure we have the products together. We're trying to make sure we have our services together. For some reason, contracts and agreements kind of just slide through the cracks or through the gaps. Told y'all before, I'm here to help you fill those gaps. Do not allow your lack of having a contract cost you your money. You work too hard for them dollars, baby. You need to make sure that you have a contract. If that other company you're working with don't have them, you have your own contract. And that way you say, look, we're going to do business. They say, oh, I don't have a contract. Oh, don't worry. I got it right here. And you're ready to go. And if they seriously want to do business with you, they will have no problem signing that contract. Which reminds me, that's probably one of the main reasons a lot of people fail to have contracts in the first place. Number one, most contracts you have to pay for, especially if you're using a company that makes them and creates them for business professionals. They're going to charge you for that contract. So a lot of people say, well, I don't need no contract. I'm not paying that fee. That's ridiculous. That's too much, whatever the case may be. Nevertheless, you're only hurting yourself by doing any level of business where there's an exchange of money without a contract, because you can't predict the future and neither can that person you're doing business with. But what you can control is how you protect your intellectual property, how you protect your products, your services, your name, your website, and everything attached to you. And I always tell my clients, do it through a contract. If you're given a contract and you don't understand it, see if you can find either a local attorney or someone online that wouldn't mind going through the contract with you to make sure that you are not getting the short end of the stick in your contracts, because there are contracts and there are these slick companies out there that will try to slide a line in there that will actually give them more rights to things than you. So you need to make sure you get with a qualified individual that can read and understand and comprehend and break these things down to you to make sure that you are not going to end up on the wrong side of the agreement or contract. All right. So don't let money be a deciding factor as to whether or not you get a contract for your own business. I've said it once, I'll say it again. You are the CEO. You are the business professional. And in certain cases, you are the freelancer or hobbyist. You need to make sure whatever services or products you are providing to your customers, you actually are protecting those items. Lawsuits are expensive. You don't believe me? Do some research on lawsuits and see how much people can sue other people for the slightest mistake or misunderstanding. Don't set your own self up for failure. Do what you need to do, CEO. Put on your big girl and big boy underoos and underwear and panties and do what you need to do to protect your business. So don't let that money, the price of that agreement or contract, cause you to say, I'm not going to do it. Don't allow your heart, your loyalty, your trust of other individuals to blind you. Get it in writing. So let me get off my soapbox. Let me check the chat and see if I missed anything. Exactly, DJ Ron. DJ Ron says, I read my contracts to my clients so they can understand what they are signing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Let's see. Hey, David, thank you for being here. All right, let's see. How about an independent contractor agreement? Have you ever heard of or had one of those? Now, I'm looking at the chat. I'm noticing some people that actually interview other people. But more than that, some people have actually created their own podcast. Any podcasters in here, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're either thinking about starting a podcast, you have a podcast, you've been on a podcast. Put a 1 in the chat if any of that applies to you. You've been a guest on a podcast, you're running a podcast as the host or co-host, because I know some of you have. Some of you have been guests, at least a guest on a podcast. So let me get my other phone up here. I'm trying to see, make sure. Yep, okay. Make sure my chat is up to date. So if you are a podcaster, it should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway. You should never, ever, 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 ever do a podcast without a contract. Now you were probably thinking, well, Kim, what kind of contract would I need as a podcaster? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm here to answer that question. As a fellow podcaster, you need to have a podcast host agreement. Now, you don't have to have all of these because all of these may not apply to you, but you need to have a podcast host agreement. You could have a podcast co-host agreement. Now, if it's you and someone else working on one podcast together, you two need to formulate, or one of you need to formulate a podcast co-host agreement. In that agreement, you both will get together. You will list the expectations within that agreement. If it's a paid podcast, you need to list out how y'all going to divvy up the money. If you have to pay to market that podcast, that needs to be in that contract. If they're going to pay a certain amount and you're going to pay a certain amount, are you going to be responsible for paying for the marketing? All of those things need to be clear within that contract. In that contract, there are several clauses and different things you need to have in that contract. Like I said, I won't get into it here for the sake of time. But if you are a podcast host and you have a co-host, you need to have an agreement in place. Let me tell you what. People fall out all the time. You have disagreements all the time. Now, here you are, have built this podcast together, and one of the people decide they want to leave. But if you have a podcast agreement in place, they can't just leave. There should be clauses in there that they have to follow to exit out of that podcast. Because if you built it up correctly, you have a whole following you're responsible for. So have that in an agreement. Have a release clause in that agreement. You should have all of these things as a podcast host and co-host. You can't just say, oh, okay, we're going to do this together. You my girl, you my man, whatever. We cool like that without having something in writing. Because if one person leaves, it's going to throw off the balance of the show. Now, what happens if things go so bad that that other co-host decides, well, I want you to take down all the episodes? You need to have that in writing. What happens if a disagreement occurs? Do you even have them agreeing to even be on the show with you in writing? We have to think about these things, CEOs, because you can build it up today and destroy it tomorrow. And that's a lot of time wasted. But if you put it on contract, everybody signs it, everybody understands, then you know what the steps are and you know what to expect. Thank you so much, Growing What I Eat. Many blessings to you. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Any questions so far? Because we're not even done with podcasts. We're not even close. If you're running a podcast, you need to have what's known as a podcast sponsorship contract. If on your podcast, you're trying to get sponsors, affiliates, anything of that nature, it needs to be within a contract. When I was doing podcasts and I had sponsors come on my podcast, they had to sign a contract. And basically it told them, this is the fee for the sponsorship slot that you agreed to pay. These are the terms. These are the conditions. It broke it down for them. And I handed it over to them. They signed it. They sent it back to me. I had it on file. Whenever they wanted to end their sponsorship, I knew exactly what was in the contract. No problem. Thank you for being here. But at least I had it on contract. They couldn't come back to me later and say, oh, I didn't give you permission to do blah, 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 whatever. Yes, you did. And here it is. Here's your signature. Here's the contract. Thank God I never had that issue. My contracts have always covered me. And I'm asking you to think about you, your brand, and anything attached to it, to make sure you are covered in your business. Hello, RX Nails. Thank you for being here. Growing What I Eat. Thank you so much. So let's keep moving on. I asked everyone earlier, for those of you that are coming in now, do you have a podcast? Have you ever been a guest on a podcast? These are the things, as a guest and as a host and co-host, you need to make sure that you have in line whenever you go on a podcast or you're running a podcast. Another big one that I found for me is called a podcast guest release form. And if you've been on my podcast recently, you already have this, you've already seen it, you've already signed it to even be on my show. The reason why I do this is because, let's say RX Nails and I have a show. I interview her. Show goes great. But let's say months pass by, RX Nails decides, I ain't really like that episode with the Educated Natural. I want her to take it down. She inboxes me and she says, excuse me, 10, I want you to take that episode down that I did with you on this date during this time, whatever. Just take it down because I didn't like my hair. I didn't like my makeup. I didn't like what I said. Somebody got offended by something I said. Whatever the case may be, she wants me to take it down. In my contract, I pretty much tell you that we can edit it. You gave me permission to send this all over the place before you even appeared on the show. You gave me permission to use this in distribution. Now you're asking me to take it down. What is the reason? It has to be something major because it's already out there. It's already gone. It's all over the world at this point. Those things and clauses need to be within your agreement, whether you will or whether you will not take the content down. Some people will maybe reach out to you as the host saying, hey, can you edit that out? I shouldn't have said that, whatever. You have to have that in writing. If you don't have that in writing, you have to obey them. But if you do have it in writing, they just gonna have to suck it up and drive on. They signed the contract. They signed the release form. So if you are a podcast host or guest, you need to make sure you are reading these release forms and understand that once it's out there, it's out there. Once you say it, it's say it. And if you do not have contracts in place, such as a release form for your guest, there is nothing that you can do if they decide they want that taken down. You don't have a contract. It's great to be invited on a podcast or a radio show or even television. It's great. It's great for you. It's great for your brand. It's great for your family that's going to watch you and your supporters going to watch you hit this next level. But trust me, you need to make sure you're doing things in the correct order, because it's too late once it's out there. So before you become a guest on someone's show, even if they did not watch today's show, they're not familiar with the release contract or agreement, you need to make sure you mention this to them. And you can say, I just want to make sure that you are protected. Thank you for inviting me on the show, but I want to make sure that you are protected later on down the line. That's how you look out for another individual, another business professional. Because there are a lot of people that's doing interviews wrong. You're thinking, I'm just doing a podcast. We just talking. It's no big deal. Things can go wrong and people can sue you over that little bit of content, as you say. You don't want that to be you. Put it on contract. I've spoken with a lot of different attorneys and they say the same thing. They just don't understand why people are interviewing people on podcasts, and podcasts go all over the world without a contract. Even if you're just doing it right here on YouTube, YouTube is available to everybody across the world. Put it on a contract, because you don't want to be sued over an interview. Put it on a contract. All right. What else? We have a podcast distribution agreement. Now, that's self-explanatory, but I'll break it down a little bit for you. There are various places podcasts can go. They can go to Apple, Google, all over the podcast platforms. They can also, if you take it and make it into a video like we are doing right here, if I want to turn this into a podcast, it's going to go over to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media platform. It's going to go everywhere. And if I really want to stretch it, rub a couple elbows with some people in radio and media, it'll go there too. Do you see how far this could go? You need to make sure when you're working with other individuals, especially guests, that they understand your distribution policy. If you're saying, look, I'm only going to put this on YouTube, put it in there. If you're saying all social media platforms, that way you ain't got to try to name every one of them because there's too many of them to name. Just put all social media platforms. So that person will know, man, everybody's going to be hearing this interview. And it kind of makes that guest think before they speak, so to say. Because once it's out there, it's out there. So let's see. Podcast production agreement. Who's going to be producing your show? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your co-host? Is it going to be an outside entity? You need to have a podcast production agreement if you're not going to be the one doing it. If you're not going to be the one editing your podcast, if you're not going to be the one putting the whole thing together as one solid entity and then putting it up on whatever podcast platforms you host it on and distribute it through, if someone else is going to be taking that role, it needs to be on an agreement. All agreements and contracts do is makes it clear so that everyone knows what's going on. And even you, the host, can't go back later and say, well, I said, they say, no, in the agreement, it says. It takes out word of mouth. It takes out confusion, because sometimes as CEOs, we can be all over the place. If you put it in writing in the very beginning, then everybody knows what's going on, to include your production and your distribution. If you're not going to be the one doing that, you're outsourcing it to somebody else, it needs to be on contract. It kills confusion. I'm telling you from personal experience. It's going to take down confusion. They already know you expect this. You expect it to be in this format. You expect it to be cut down to this limit. You expect the sound to be a certain way. All of these things are in your agreements. Any questions? Hello, Bayou Sugar Garden. Thank you for being here. Hope I didn't miss anyone. If I did, just say hey so I can say hey back. Any questions, please ask. Okay, so that takes care of podcasters. Any consultants in here? Anybody a consultant? Because there are contracts as consultants, you need to have in place. Even if you don't plan on using them, you need to have them at your hand. It like right in your Rolodex. You need to have them right there in your folder, your file folder. Here are my contracts as a consultant. Any consultants, put a 1 in the chat. That's you. As a consultant, you need to have consulting contracts. Now, these can be a plethora of different contracts. Like I said, even with podcasters and everything I've covered up until this point, there are still so many other things that are out there. You just have to do your due diligence and find the contract or agreement that suits you. They're all different. But if you are a consultant and you do one-on-one consulting or group coaching, you need to have an agreement in place. If you are doing consulting, you need to have a non-disclosure agreement in place. That means what I say to you and you say to me, it stays right here. It does not go outside of these 4 walls. It stays right here. It's confidential. You can't tell them what I told you, and I can't tell them what you told me. It is non-disclosed. Nothing happening here they need to know about. It's between you and I. So if you are a consultant, you definitely have to protect yourself and your clients by having those agreements in place, whether it's a group coaching agreement or a contract or a consulting contract for your one-on-one coaching programs. It needs to be in writing. So all consultants, that's your homework assignment. If you know you're a consultant, you got some work to do. All right. Now, I've noticed lately there are a lot of people here on YouTube that's entering into the motivational or public speaking space. Any motivational speakers out there? You want to be a motivational speaker. You want to go around the world and step on stages and let the Lord use you. If that is you, there are contracts and agreements you need to be researching right now before you step on any one stage. And if you are a host of an event and you want to have speakers come in, you need to make a list too. Because if they don't have them on hand, you need to have them on hand. And I'm referring to a guest speaker contract. If you have guest speakers coming in, I don't care if it's 5, 10, 15, 20. If they're coming in to speak at your event, conference, you need to have some type of agreements or contracts in place. Those speakers need to know what your event is, what the event is about, so that they can tailor their messages to your audience at this event. If you don't have that in writing, that speaker can show up talking about anything under the sun, and it may miss your audience that have paid good money to be there because you did not lay out the guidelines in your contracts. So if you have an event, or if you are an event speaker, a motivational speaker, and you know you're going to be going to these places to speak, you need to have your contracts in hand. If you plan on being a keynote speaker, you need to have a contract in hand. There was 2 comedians that took over the internet earlier this year because of a contract disagreement. One thought they was the keynote speaker. The other one said, no, I'm the headliner. No, I'm the headliner. Agreements. Both sides could have read the agreement, could have been squashed. You don't want to be in that type of bind. You don't want to be in that type of situation with anyone. So if you are a speaker, you need to have some sort of speaker agreement in place. All right. You need to have a speaking engagement agreement. That's where you and the coordinator of this event have sat down and did an agreement. They know what the agreement, you know what the event is about. You guys have talked about it. You know how many people are going to be there. You know the location. You know exactly what they expect of you as the speaker. This makes it clear. So you won't show up with a message or a presentation that has absolutely nothing to do with the event. Everybody's on the same page because the agreement has made it plain for both parties. All right. Hey, the experience with Sassy. Thank you for being here. Hey, Give it up for my member, y'all. Sassy in the building. Listen, if you need to go learn about gaming and have some fun, go over to Experience with Sassy. She's gaming over there. She's showing us her garden. Girl, doing the thing. So make sure if you haven't connected with the Experience with Sassy, you are connecting with the Experience with Sassy. Okay. All right. So any questions from my speakers out there? Any questions from my consultants, from my podcasters? Any questions, leave them in the chat so I can answer them for you. Oh, some ARD. Hey, ARD, I didn't even know you was here. He asked the question. Let me scroll back up. I'm looking. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Put it up on the screen here. There it is. Tapping in from the Bay with much respect. Great topic. In addition to the release clause, is there a recommended contact period in which you can renew or negotiate new terms? Yes, that should be actually listed in that contract. Some people say, okay, let's say we do a contract today and the event or the job or the product or service or whatever we're doing this contract in reference to, let's say we sign it now, it takes place 6 months from now. You need to follow up within 60 days, at least within a 60-day period. Some people say 45 to 60 days. You need to follow back up with that client and say, hey, any changes, anything, somebody could have gotten sick, anything could have happened. Y'all need to go back. If you need to renegotiate the contract, keep it at least 30 days before the actual work is supposed to be done. Because you never know what could happen in the system since you did the contract to the time the work is supposed to start. So whatever comfortable time period both parties agree to, then that's when y'all need to renegotiate the contract, sit down, make changes. That means that previous contract is no more. Once you make any changes, you just formed an entire new contract. All right. So whatever time frame both parties can agree to, and we want to sit down and we want to look at this thing again, then that's the time frame that needs to be within that original contract. Don't let things go too long, especially if it's with a very busy company or individual. You need to make sure, say, hey, we signed this thing 3 months ago. We signed this thing 6 months ago. We signed this thing a year ago with this date. We need to come back and we need to talk. Now, there are some people that have to renegotiate contracts as they're doing the work. Let's say you hire a contractor, they're building a house, something happens, things just aren't looking right. You need to have that clause in that original contract that says, if this happens, if a discrepancy happens, we need to be able to negotiate or renegotiate this contract during this time period. All those things can be added in your contract. So whatever time frame is comfortable for both parties, whether it's before the work starts or during the work starts, it needs to be in that original contract. If you sit there and you put, okay, you start on this date, you end on this date. But during this time frame, if a discrepancy happens, we need to come within a certain date. Let's say the contract runs from January to September, and something happens right there in, let's say, May. You can put a date in whatever time frame where y'all want to negotiate things during the process of this thing being done. If they're building this house, what's the process? What's the date? We're going to come back to the table and talk about things and look at things from what's going good, what's not going good. You put those dates in that original contract. And you can put as many dates in there as you want. But you need to make sure it's in that original contract. You got to leave room in there for negotiations and renewals. Okay? You don't want to sit there and not have those things in there, and then something goes wrong as they're doing the work or providing the service or the product, and you didn't leave a clause in the original contract that says you left space for negotiations. Because all they have to say is, nah, we're not changing anything. We're still sticking to the original contract. So you can't say, oh, no, I changed my mind. I know y'all already working on the house. We're already 3 months in, and I decided I wanted y'all to add another bedroom to it. We signed on for a 3-bedroom house. Now you want us to make a 4-bedroom house? No, sir. That requires a whole new contract. So that pretty much rips up the old contract. Those other way you start a whole new process. So when you're doing these contracts, you have to make sure you understand these things from the long haul and leave room in there for changes and negotiations and renewals, like ARD has brought up. Yes, absolutely, ARD. Thank you for being here. Need to add that as a clause, especially for podcasts or social media partnerships. Absolutely. I was just mentioning that if you are doing a podcast, you need to have the right clauses in that agreement that covers all of that, because people change their mind. And you need to make sure, as the host, as the creative mind behind that podcast, everything is laid out for everybody to understand before they even come on your show. Do you understand these terms? Do you understand the words that are coming out? Do you understand what's going on here? Because trying to come back later after a contract is complete, that's the wrong move. Thank you, Unbiased, for letting me know about it. Thank you so much. I completely missed it. Hey, DJ Jordan, how are you? Thank you so much for liking and sharing me out. Everybody else, you can do the same if you like. If you like the content so far, I invite you to give us a like. You can share this out on your social media platforms. You can tell a friend to tell a friend. That's fine by me. And if you're still wondering if you should become a part of the family here on the Educate Natural channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that button. You know the button, that subscribe button. Don't act like you don't see that button down there. Hit that button and become a part of the fam here. If you'd like to really have some one-on-one time and get some more in-depth explanations about what I cover, you need to join the membership. Because even everything I'm covering today as far as business contracts, my members get stuff broken down all the way down. You guys just get a tip. They get the full Monty. So they can sit there and say, Kim, listen, I'm going to be on a podcast. What do I need to look for, or what needs to be within a release form as far as the podcast goes? And I can sit there and say, well, look, here's mine. Would you like a copy? Well, here's how much that's going to cost. And they never pay full price for anything I provide because they are my members. They get access like that. So if they sit there and say, well, Kim, I need a work for hire agreement. Oh, really? Yeah, I got you covered. I have those. Here, I'm only going to tell you about the things you need. They get it broken down on elementary levels, and they get access as well. Because they're just that good. They decided to entrust their business, and their thoughts, and their journeys with me, and it's the least I can do as the Educated Natural, as the host of this channel that they have decided to become members with, or of, should I say. So I wanted to break that down. So let me look on down here. Hey, Big Rooster, everybody, stop what you're doing. Stop traffic. Stop the spinning of the earth. It is the Big Rooster Show's birthday. Everybody wish him a happy birthday. Him and Hands in the Dirt. Today is their birthdays. So everybody say, happy birthday, Big Rooster. I hope you are out there enjoying your day, eating all the cake you want, eating all the turkey legs you want, or whatever your meal of today is going to be. I hope you are enjoying it, sir. Well deserved. And we thank God he allows you to be with us another year. So happy birthday. All right, who else do we have? Growing What I Eat, welcome to the membership. Thank you. What button? You can't see. Big Rooster, what button? The subscribe button? You already subscribed. The join button, it better be on my page where it says join to become a member. So happy birthday. I hope you are having a great time. Did I miss any questions so far? We're going to keep right on moving. All right, so that covers motivational and public speakers. Crafters, raise your hand. I see a bunch of y'all in here. Raise your hand if you are a crafter. Put a 1 in the chat if you are a crafter. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You need agreements and contracts. Yes, indeed, you do. It could be, you could be a designer of a mug, a hat, a shoe, a sock. You need to have business contracts. Hey, T. Johnson, thank you for being here. Yes, welcome, 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 growing what I eat. You need to have contracts crafters. For instance, graphic designers. If you are a graphic designer, you're out there creating logos or any other type of graphic for people, you need to have a graphics designer agreement on hand. You give those to your clients, it spells out everything for them. If you are a freelance designer, you need to have an agreement on hand. It's called a freelance designer agreement. All right. If you are a fashion designer, you need to have a fashion designer agreement on hand. If you are a service person and you fall into the crafters arena, you need to have some sort of service agreement that you give to your clients. All right. If you are a vendor, listen up, because I know a couple of you have went to pop-up shops. Anybody did a pop-up shop? If you're going to do a pop-up shop at any point, you need to have a vendor agreement, or it may be called a pop-up shop vendor agreement. You need to have an agreement so you will know how much they're going to charge you. If that's, because some agreements they say, okay, if you're vending at our event, you can vend for free, but we get a certain percentage of your sales. I've heard of that happening. Some people say, okay, you're a vendor, you pay a vendor's fee. This is the fee. This is the size area you're going to be at. That way you know how big a table or tables you can fit in that area. If you can have a overhead cover, you need to know if it's inside, indoors or outdoors. This needs to be in your pop-up shop vendor agreement. So just don't go out there willy-nilly. You need to make sure as a crafter, you know what the expectations are. So have an agreement on hand. All right. So if you're going, thank you, EJ's daughter, for being here. If you're going to craft shows, anything like that, where you're going to be selling your products, you need to make sure there is some sort of agreement at hand, because you don't want that organizer coming to you asking you for a portion of your proceeds or your profits. You don't want that. It needs to be in an agreement. If they don't have an agreement, you should have an agreement, and you can take it to the organizer and say, look, I just want to make sure that we are clear. What are the expectations at this event? Because what I've been told is that not every event is created equal. Some events are huge, some events are small. So you need to have a clear understanding as to what the expectations and the flow of that event is. All right. So make sure you have your agreements in place, crafters. Any music artist, have you created music for someone else? You are a producer. Have you had someone else create music for you? Okay. You need to have agreements or contracts in place. Oh, that's great to know. Thank you, EJ's daughter, for sharing. She said, yes, craft shows at high schools always spell out everything. That's why I love them. That's great to know. I didn't know that. That's great. Great to know. So those of you that are crafters is looking for pop-up shops and events, you might want to check out the schools. Good point. Music artists. You need to have contracts and agreements in place. If someone has created a song for you, I know our very own 755 Media and Miss Shandy Cheek, they do a lot of music together, and they do a lot of music for other people. You need to make sure, if you are the producer or the receiver of those musical selections that they be dropping, there is some sort of agreement in place. You need to know who has the rights over the songs, what you can do with the songs, what's going to be done with the songs, what can't be done with the songs. Those agreements need to be in place. An artist contract, it could be a music recording contract, a musical performance contract. If you're going someplace and you're going to be performing this song, you need to have an agreement in place. All right. If you're working with a band, If you're an artist and you have hired a band to back you up, a contract needs to be in place so that everybody can understand what's the what. All right. Hey, Sweet Thumb, thank you for being here. A record label contract. We've all heard that before. That needs to be in place. A distribution contract. Where is this music going to go? Which platforms? That needs to be spelled out. Artist management contract. Some people hire their family members to be their managers, or their neighbor, or their friend, or a coworker to be their manager. They're the artist. They got a management team. There needs to be some sort of contract between you, the artist, and the management team. Because some people have been done badly by their management team, by their financial team, their financial advisors, their lawyers. Contracts need to be in place if you are a musical artist. All right. Some sort of music licensing contract needs to be in place as well. So as you can see, doesn't really matter which industry you are in, you're going to need a contract. All right. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I keep looking over to see if I see anything. All right. We're moving. So now, as you're building these contracts or having these contracts built by someone else, if you don't want to do it yourself, you're going to outsource these contracts to other people that are skilled in putting these contracts together for you. You need to look for certain things. Depends on the contract. These things may be in there. They may not be in there. But for instance, automatic cancellation clause. If you're working with another individual, let's say on a podcast, and you're doing a host and co-host agreement, for instance, there needs to be some clause in there where it says automatic cancellation. That's mainly for your guests. Because if you are doing things the right way as a podcast host or a co-host, once people say yes, they want to be on your show and they sign your agreement, your release form, you start marketing all over the social media that these individual or individuals are going to be on your show. Now, you've done all this marketing. And next thing you know, the person contacts you maybe the day of the show or the day before the show saying they can't make it for whatever reason. You need to have some cancellation clause in your contracts to tell people if you're going to cancel, just like I think banks do it. If you're going to cancel, you need to cancel by this date. And some people even attach a fee. Because I did all this marketing, some people even go and buy radio spots depending on the show. So if they're dishing all this money out there and you decide not to show up, it's only applicable they charge you a fee. Just saying. So that may be a clause in that contract or release form that you sign. So you need to look out for that. Communication requirements needs to be as a clause in that agreement or contract. How are you guys going to communicate with each other? Through email, phone calls, private chats, private meetups like this? You just put it on private. Y'all going to do a video chat. What is your communication going to be with that other individual? That needs to be in your contracts. Now, how many of you have ever had a client? I know crafters go through this a lot, some of them, where somebody hires you to do work and it's time for them to make a payment and they don't. They ghost you. They don't answer your emails. They don't answer your phone calls. You can't find these people no place on the earth. They just ghost you. And now you're out of time, materials, money in certain cases. You need, yes, Sweet Thumb, ghost. They just, woof, go. You done did all this work. And these people did not show up with the rest of your money. And you have all these shirts that you can't use. Your name isn't Hot and Spicy Hottie. Like, that's not your name. can't do nothing with these shirts. You can't do nothing with these hats. You're stuck with all this inventory that you have created, and these people have disappeared on you. You need to have a clause in your agreements that deals with cancellations. It deals with pausing on a job, because some clients will ghost you. You need to have some sort of clause in there that says, if you ghost me or if you cancel, this is going to be the repercussions. This is what you're responsible for doing. It needs to be in there. Because it's going to make people think, okay, man, before I hire them, they're saying if I cancel or if I don't pay them, let's say you have it set up where they pay you 50% now, 50% once the job is done. If they pay you the first 50%, that's when you start the work. Please do not start work without some money on the table. Please. They're really going to get you if you just do it. Say, okay, they put the order in there and they'll pay you nothing and you did all this work and then you can't find them. That's on you. Don't do it without at least half or some percentage on the table they already paid for to make you even turn on your heat press. Okay. Even if they can't pay the full bill, let them pay a little bit on it. Okay. Have that in your contract. Now, when they come back and they don't pay you the other half, it needs to be in the contract as to what the repercussions of that is going to be. Is it going to incur an additional fee? What's going to happen? I know you're thinking, well, Kim, they didn't pay me the first fee. What make you think they're going to pay me the rest of the fee? You got to have something in there to protect you. All right. Oh, sweet thumb. That's a good one. She says, worse yet, they will take portions of your work and get little cuz to do it for cheaper. Now, I don't know if sweet thumb is a male or female. Please tell me. I don't want to say she and you like, I'm a he girl. What's wrong with you? Please tell me. Please tell me. But sweet thumb says, oh my goodness, you are so right. I have heard horror stories of this. People say, you know what? My cousin down the street makes shirts. I'm going to go down there and let them do. And now you over there in the start of the job that these people know they're not going to finish paying you for. Let's see. When you make an agreement business-wise, is there a special name for that? Okay, Big Rooster says, when you make an agreement business-wise, is there a special name for that? It depends on which type of agreement it is. Is it a service agreement? Is it a freelance agreement? Depends on what it is they're doing for you. Some people just make up their own name for what it's called. I've heard that. Instead of using some of the names I've already mentioned, they make up their own name based on what their business is. And that's what they call it. It's all about what's listed on that paper. You can name it whatever you want. It's all about what's in those clauses, what's expected, what's spelled out for both parties. That's what if you have to go to court over it, that's what they're going to be looking at. What did you agree to? Absolutely. Absolutely, sweet thumb. People have taken music, art, products. Yes, yes, and yes. I have shared many times over. Okay, Mel, thank you, sir. Thank you for letting me know that. I have, as many of you know that have followed me for a while, I have been often imitated, And I have shared stories here about people taking from my name to the way I run my shows, just different things, and calling it their own. That's why I work so hard to build my fan base. And even people, when I'm not even in the room, nowhere near where this stuff is happening yet, people contact me and send me links. Girl, did you see this? This is you all day. I'm like, wait a minute. That is me. When you build your customer base and your fan base, they help you a lot. But also what really helped me is that R you see by my name. Because now I have legal protection. I have national protection. So when people do crazy stuff like that, they pay a hefty price. This is why on this channel, I'm always telling you guys about trademarks and protecting your intellectual property. It should mean something to you. You should be willing to fight for it, because you're going to have confiscators, copycatters, counterfeiters all across the world. But if you protect yourself, just like with these business contracts, early on, it makes them think twice, especially when you start sending out cease and desist letters and then you hire a lawyer to show them, I'm not playing with you. It will make them think before touching anything of yours again. Let's see. Big Rooster says, I've heard when rappers get solicited, they ask them what's their book. Have you heard that? I never heard that term before. What in the world does what's your book mean? See, that's that lingo I'm not familiar with. What does that mean? You gonna send me? Okay, I'm gonna write. Matter of fact, I'm gonna write this down so I go look it up too. What's their book? I always keep paper by me, y'all, because I want to know what that means. Has anybody ever heard of this? What Big Rooster is referring to? What's their book? I've never heard of that term before. I'm definitely going to look it up so I can say I've heard of it before, though. Let's see. Sweet Thumb says, everything they do will be modified version of your work, and they will swear they gave you the ideas. Yes. So heard stories about that. I've seen people right here on YouTube do the same thing. People seriously think that if they change a node, and if you do design work, you know what a node is. If they move a node this way, or if they change the colors, or if they switch up the letters in the name by taking off some letters or trying to make it cute, you know, how we like to put ebonics on a lot of different things. Oh, it's mine. No, it's not. It's not yours. People that have an ounce of common sense can figure out where you got your name, where you got that design from. Some people have actually been called out on it here on social media. From t-shirt designers to content creators who literally regurgitate other people's ideas, products, and services. There have almost been literal fights on this particular platform of YouTube over stuff like that, Sweet Thumb. So you are absolutely right. People try to be slick until they get caught, and then they want to sit there and say, oh, you got it from me, or oh, I didn't know. No. Your ignorance is not going to help you. We know where you got it from. This is why I tell people be very careful with AI. I know it's the happening thing right now. I know. I have yet to use it. I'm kind of hesitant with it. But there are a lot of people who have completely just head first into this whole AI thing. And they will go on Chat GPT or wherever else that's out there, and they will have them do an entire breakdown of whatever topic they want to talk about. Then they will come on camera and regurgitate it back to you and sound all professional with it because they done rehearsed it and did all this stuff to it. You're thinking, oh, wow, they really know. And you will sit there and go link up with them and try to follow them on social media just to find out they have no clue about what they're saying or doing. Chat GPT did all that work. They did absolutely nothing. Half of the time, they know nothing about the topic. It's just a trending topic. And they hop on it because they're trying to get clicks, likes, and views and subs here on social media and followers on social media. And you won't even know that they didn't even come up with that. It's all regurgitated information. It's made a lot of people, in my opinion, lazy, creative-wise and work-wise. People thinking, oh, no, I'm working smarter, not harder. No. When people come to you and they're expecting you to know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you're talking about, that makes you look really, really bad. And I'm going to leave it at that. I could say some other things, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So be careful when you're depending on these AI services to type up these things for you, and you come on camera and you regurgitating this information that you are not knowledgeable about. Be careful, because it could come back and bite you in the behind. Just saying. Let's see. A Resilient Dad says, is it publishing? Is that what it is? Let's see. Big Rooster says. So I think it means what else do they require other than payment? Like if they want extra amenities such as extra hotel rooms for members of their crew or okay. Okay. I've never heard of it put that way before. What's their book? I've never heard of that. It could be that. That's a good summary. It could be that. Like what else do you want in addition to payment? Like you said, are we paying for your crew? Do you need a bus? Are you paying for airfare? Are we paying for, all these hotel rooms? Are we paying for a wardrobe stylist? Like, I understand. I got you. Oh, let's see this one. Sweet Thumb says, you even need to get the domain names that are close to yours. When people would spell it wrong, I could just that too. I'm going through that right now. Domain names. People will literally go and buy a domain name that's associated with you or our other content creator in hopes that when they get ready to get that domain name, they notice that it's already bought by someone else. And if you've ever done domain name searching and you've looked up a domain name and it's owned by someone else, on the side somewhere, it will say contact the owner, or you can let them negotiate on your behalf for a fee. There's always a fee attached to you trying to get this domain name that they pretty much stole from you to try to keep you from getting it in hopes that you want it. And now you got to come see them and they're going to charge you some astronomical fee for that domain name. That's actually called cyber squatting. And that's legally illegal. And you could actually be sued for doing that. Just thought I'd let you know that. And now that person that created that name or that term would have to go through extra processes through other companies. I won't get into that here. And they will have to go through this whole litigation process to get that domain taken down. It's a whole thing. But yes, Sweet Thumb, people will literally go and try to come up with a domain name that's associated with your name, your business name, your tagline, your slogan, whatever, in hopes that you will pay them to get it back. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so those two are talking. Any other questions? Hi, Shane. Is it Shangy Girl? Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, DJ Jordan, for telling people about the channel. Thank you so much. Welcome. Any questions about business contracts? I'm going to wrap this up soon. We're getting close to the end. Now, also a clause that you may want to add to your contract says no or partial refund policies. Please have a refund policy, especially on your website. Those of you that are selling through your website, have a refund policy in place. Whether you offer no refunds on custom work or you offer so many revisions on a logo or whatever it is you are providing, have that stuff on your website and your refund policy. Also have it in your contract so that people will know I have a no refund policy on custom orders, or I have this type of refund order or policy. Let people know in your contract, in your policies, let them know this is our take on refunds or revisions. All right. Exit clause if something goes wrong. You need to always have a way out. If you're in a contract agreement with someone, you need to have an exit clause in that agreement. I'm not going to get into what exit clauses are. I told you I break those things down if my members want me to go into depth about whatever topic we're discussing in our membership meetups. But as you're getting these forms created and these agreements created, you need to make sure that you have an exit clause within that agreement. Things go wrong all the time. You don't want to be locked into something that you want to get out of and your client want to get out of, but because of this contract, there's no way to get out of it. You need to make sure there's a way that you, as the owner of this contract, can say enough is enough. We are done. All right. All right. And last but not least, testimonial and portfolio releases. If you do work with someone and you want testimonials, that needs to be in your contract. A lot of people take testimonials and they put them on their website. I work with such and such and such. This is what they said. You need to make sure that that is in your contract, that it's okay with that other party that you're working with to put their testimonial out there publicly. You might want to make sure that's in your contracts. So we have covered a lot. And I want you all to understand that it doesn't matter what level of business you are in. It doesn't matter if you are a CEO of your own company, if you're a brand builder or owner, if you're a hobbyist, you're just doing these things that you're doing for as a hobby. It's not that big of a deal to you. You're just kind of getting your feet wet. If you're a freelancer, if you're a music artist, if you're a public speaker, if you're a podcaster, if you're a radio show host, if you're a person that does TV appearances, you need to make sure that you are operating under contract. If you're having trouble finding contracts, reach out to a local attorney. If that local attorney fee is too much and you need something right here, right now, and you're looking for someone that you can sit down with and go through a contract with and have those things written up for you, I invite you to reach out to me, The Educated Natural. You can go to my website at www.theeducatednatural.com. We can discuss your contract. I can let you know what the fee is for that contract, and we can move from there. If you need more of an explanation when it comes to business, when it comes to intellectual property protection, when it comes to anything dealing with contracts, or you just need a place where you can get with like-minded individuals that are trying to build businesses, you just need a place of peace without all the drama, but clear explanations. I do invite you to join us here on the channel. Just hit that join button and you become a part of our membership. For those of you that are already in the membership, heads up, we are having our meeting this Sunday, which is, look at my calendar here, the 3rd. We are having our meeting immediately after this live. I will put the link up for the meeting. I believe we agreed on, and let me check my notes really quickly. Let me go back here. We agreed this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, myself and all the members of this channel will be getting together and we'll be having a discussion. So bring your questions. If you have any business questions, now that we've covered contracts, you have any contract questions, we can ask them there. And any other thing that's going on in your business, we're having our member meetup this Sunday, September the 3rd, 4:00 p.m. Eastern. I will put the link on this channel, The Educated Natural, and it will be only available to members only. You're only going to know what we're talking about when you are in the membership. So if you're thinking about joining a membership, we invite you to join us here. We talk about business topics. We talk about life topics. We talk about YouTube and social media topics. Anything you are dealing with in your business, you may be struggling with. We even cover mindset topics. Just need to get some stuff out your head. We do that as a collective group, and we learn in-depth things about a lot of the principles of business. If this is something that is interest to you, we invite you, come on down the hallway and around the corner and through the door and come hang out with Kim and her members. We invite you to be there. Any questions before we get up out of here? Hey, Bougie, excuse me. Hi, Bougie Prepper. Thank you for being here. All right, GT, enjoy your day. Thank you for being here. Y'all give it up for my members. G Mama Grows, GT Junior Grows in Alaska. Y'all give it up for them. Y'all give it up for my new members. Listen, y'all gonna miss it. Thank y'all for being here. Growing what I eat. Listen, we are about to have a blast. The experience with Sassy, Sonia Siegler. We are about to have a blast this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. All my members, if you're on the fence, like they say, study wrong, well, study long, study wrong. You're going to miss the train. You better get on now because we are about to have some in-depth discussions to get my members on their roads to success. And if you want to be a part of it, doors open. Get in where you fit in. All right. Thank you, EJ's daughters. Thank you so much. Thank you, G Mama. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Happy birthday once again goes out to our very own Big Rooster Show. Him and Hands in the Dirt. Happy birthday to the two of you. Remember, tonight, our very own Tori's Brain will be going live with Neckbone News. I want to say it's 7 something. Give me a second and I will give you the time. Let me look it up real quick. Let's see here. Yes, he'll be going on at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock p.m. Central. All right. So if you want to laugh and have a good time with so many of us, a lot of us you see in the chat, and a lot of us around the globe, head over tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern to Tori's Brain for Neckbone News. That is tonight. I will see you guys later. I don't see any questions. Thank each and every one of you all. I do, Big Rooster. I do. That was the time frame my members agreed to. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you, each and every one of you, for all of your great comments. Thank you to everyone that hit the like button, to everyone that shared this out, to everyone that's just here for support. Thank you for everyone that left a super sticker or super chat. Thank you. May God continue to bless you 100-fold over. Until the next time God allows us to meet, if all minds and hearts are clear, it seems like it is. Until the next time we get together, we always say this: be blessed, continue to be a blessing to others, and until the very next time, enjoy your journey. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you.